Well, things got a whole lot more interesting coming from the White House because President Trump says there may not be back pay for furloughed workers. Just look at this. He says Trump threatens no back pay for shutdowns furloughed workers. But what's even more interesting than what he said and what we are hearing is that it is certain people that may not be paid. Listen to this. This is what President Trump said after a reporter asked if furloughed workers will be paid. Listen to this.
I would say it depends on who we're talking about. I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way.
I can tell you, after looking at X and seeing a few posts over on Reddit, people are freaking out, where they are wondering if they are going to be paid. There are federal workers, they are currently furloughed. They're wondering, am I going to get paid? And this is where some workers, some that are supposed to be in the office, maybe in the tower, maybe at the airport doing stuff for TSA, these workers are now questioning whether or not they are going to get paid. Are they deemed essential but not essential enough to receive a paycheck? Well, we'll see in the very near future. But look at this. I want to show you this. This is an article from Reuters. It says U.S. government shutdown. Who is still working and who has been furloughed? I want to read this to you. It says right here, and we're not going to read the whole thing, but I'll skim through it. 2 million active duty members of the military remain on duty. Roughly 55% of the Defense Department's 740,000 civilian employees have been furloughed, including those involved in training, procurement, and administrative support. In the Department of Homeland Security, says only 5% of the Department of Homeland Security's 271,000 workers have been furloughed, including those involved in research, planning, training, and auditing. Secret Service agents, immigration and border officers, airport security screeners, Coast Guard personnel, and Federal Emergency Management Agency employees, workers remain on the job. So these workers, some of them are concerned that they might not get paid. Look at this, Department of Justice. About 10% of the Department of Justice's 115,000 employees are furloughed, mainly in administration and policy roles. Prison guards, FBI agents, criminal prosecutors, and other frontline law enforcement are required to work. As far as the Department of State, they furloughed 62% of its 27,000 employees, but it does say all embassies remain open, and those working on visas and passports will continue to do their jobs. So the list goes on and on. Now, I don't want to get to the Treasury Department, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Commerce, Social Security Administration, Department of Transportation, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, Department of Agriculture, Environment Protection Agency, Department of Education, Federal Trade Commission, Securities and Exchange Commission, Small Business Administration, Federal Communication Commission, Department of Veteran Affairs, Department of Housing and Urban Development. You can see all these. Department of Labor, Department of Energy, Department of Interior. You can see how many people are still working. But the concern is, are those people going to get paid? That's what we don't know. But look at this. It says, Trump and White House question back pay for furloughed workers amid government shutdown. Should these workers still be paid? Let's read a little of this to you. It says, such a move suggested in a White House draft memo would represent a new interpretation of the law that is likely to generate significant controversy on Capitol Hill and among government workers. It also comes as the Trump administration has said it is exploring mass layoffs of federal employees amid the shutdown. It says, pressed by reporters Tuesday on whether furloughed federal employees would be paid, Trump suggested that they would be paid for the most part, but it might depend upon the worker. Again, this has a lot of people concerned. Okay, I want to read this. It says, he added, but for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. Asked later to detail why some federal workers would not receive back pay, Trump didn't offer an explanation, but said, "You're going to have to figure that out. Ask the Democrats that question. I follow the law, and what the law says is correct." That's the concern is this law open for interpretation? Look at this right here. It says, the memo appears to contravene the 2019 Government Employee Fair Treatment Act, signed by Trump during his first term after a partial shutdown that stretched 35 days. And it paints a cloudy economic picture for the 750,000 federal workers currently under furlough, says Speaker Mike Johnson, who voted for the 2019 law guaranteeing back pay, told reporters just today that, quote, there will be a lot of discussion about the White House memo before saying, I hope that the furloughed workers receive back pay. Does go on to say, there are legal analysts who think that that is not something the government should do. If that is true, that should turn up the urgency and the necessity of the Democrats doing the right thing here. Yeah, that should really turn up the urgency to get a deal done if 750,000 federal workers who are currently furloughed are not going to be receiving back pay. They won't be receiving anything. And again, this is why I say a lot of these workers are going to struggle once they start missing payments. Or for these 750,000 federal employees, what happens when they don't get a check or their check is extremely small because there's no back pay? I do want to show you a couple other things though. It's one's good news, the other one's a little bit concerning. It says right here, Trump to sailors on pay held by shutdown. Do not worry about it. President Trump is going to ensure that sailors are paid. But look at this. This is extremely concerning. This is an airport I've flown into multiple times. Look at this. It says Burbank, California airport goes without air traffic controllers for hours amid a government shutdown. Look at this right here. It says a staffing shortage meant there were no controllers on duty between 4:15 p.m. and 10 p.m. I bring all this up because right now it is the start of this. Things could go from bad to worse very soon. They really can. I don't know what to expect moving forward, but if this shutdown continues, there's going to be more people that are going to feel the pain. So just be prepared for that. But I'll leave you with that. If you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. But as of today, that is what we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.